Hey everyone, it's Zack. It's about 6:30 in the morning on Friday of C2E2. I've been driving for an hour. I have another 3.5 hours to go before I get to go and do a con for just the rest of the day. I'm starting to think C2E2 was a mistake.
X-Men. Get it!
So we are here on the end of Friday of C2E2, and I am sitting in front of Matthew Rosenberg. Matt, how you doing today?
I took a drink, right? So you asked me out. I'm good.
So paint everyone a picture. He is drinking chocolate milk, and we did walk by this booth earlier today, and that was the only thing sitting here. So we figured out it was his booth.
That's correct.
It was a weird case of something you think is just a joke being reality.
I know I drink a lot of chocolate milk.
I mean, look, more power to you. So, Matthew, right now you are writing Uncanny X-Men.
That's correct.
Which some people have described as a big deal.
Yes, some people have. People who read comics. People who don't read comics tend to not describe it as that.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. So, you've got a weird team. Like, cards on the table.
Yes.
You don't have a traditional X-Men team.
No.
What made you want to use those sets of characters? Characters that are beloved by a certain segment of fans, but maybe not everyone's favorite.
When we started writing Uncanny, it was me and Kelly Thompson, Ed Brisson. Mm-hmm. We knew we were building towards bringing back Logan and Scott, and early on we talked about the idea of like, well, let's get everybody off the table, because otherwise there's too much emotional complication to really like. You'd have to deal with the ramifications of how everybody deals with Scott and how everyone deals with Logan and what it means for them, and like what does it mean for X-23 and Jean and Kitty, and like we're like, let's get them out of here, let's focus on those two, and then they're bright shining stars that tend to eclipse people.
Sure.
And so I was like, well, I want a big cast, I want an ensemble cast, and I want people to sort of who can be around their spotlight and not overshadow it, but really be characters that they can elevate.
Right.
So it's Havoc and Magic, and it's a whole bunch of awesome X-Men that are favorites of mine, and we're adding more all the time. And
Absolutely.
taking a few away.
You can't scare people like that, Matthew.
You know, some people may quit, they may retire. I'm not saying that everyone is.
I mean, there's a
dying.
grave on a cover.
There's a grave on a cover.
I mean, let's cut.
Yeah, we put a grave on the cover of that issue because someone's gonna die.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, one thing that I've heard a lot of praise about the way you've approached Uncanny is that you've been taking work that you've done previously in stuff like New Mutants, Dead Souls, Astonishing X-Men, and even your Secret Warriors, and as of the issue that came out this last week, your Punisher run, and tying them into the larger narrative. Now, with comics not necessarily getting the same 17-year run that our friend Chris Claremont over there got.
Yeah.
How has that been your way of trying to continue to tell a long-form story in smaller chunks?
Yeah, exactly. I grew up on Claremont. I learned to read on Chris Claremont. He's a master at planting seeds. Like him, Peter David, like those guys are just legendary at sort of planting seeds and letting them grow for years. And that's just not the comic market right now. And early on, like, Marvel was very enthusiastic about me and excited, and I made it very clear that I wanted X-Men to be my home, and I started sort of putting the idea of, like, not wrapping everything up in a bow. I mean, it's sort of a two-part thing, because there's a sort of theory in comics that I don't ascribe to, but a lot of fans do, that, like, oftentimes a miniseries doesn't matter, per se, which I don't love that term or expression, because it's art, and if you enjoyed it, it mattered, and if you didn't, it doesn't. But like, I understand the complaint that like miniseries aren't going to change the status quo as a character.
Right.
And I want to shake that idea up. So we were very big.
You've done that a little bit.
Yeah, we were very big on on trying to shake up a miniseries at the end and make sure that people were real confused. It got a little heated for people as they thought I was just walking away from these ideas.
Wait. X-Men fans had strong opinions on things.
They were a little intense at times, but I understand it. People are very passionate about these characters. That's why we have these jobs. That's why we can do this, is because people care about their comic characters, and it's why I have the job, because I'm super passionate. So I don't fault anyone for getting worked up and heated, but definitely turning the New Mutants into warlocks, or putting Havoc in prison, or making Multiple Man a weird retiree who just wants to drink beer. Those are ideas that fans took issue with, but we're doing this long form thing, and it was sort of an experiment to try and simulate the Chris Claremont style X-Men era, but it's a little more complicated because you can't just be like, and in a year read Uncanny X-Men. So it's but it was fun though, and I think people who did stick with the stuff have been very positive and saying that they enjoy how everything feels like a universe and is cumulative, which I like.
Oh, good. So for fans who are reading your Uncanny right now, what can they expect moving forward? What do you want them to be excited about?
I think the thing that I'm really excited about, I talk to a lot of fans, I do a lot of cons, and I go to comic shops and meet people, and I occasionally look at Twitter, and every once in a while Kelly Thompson sends me links from forums of things that people say about me.
Oh, Matt. Matt.
No, it's not me, it's Kelly. Kelly's big on that. She's going to get so mad at me that I said that. But Kelly likes to see what people are guessing is going to happen in books. She finds that very fun. And the thing I'm really excited about is that, I haven't talked to anyone or seen anybody who has sort of figured out what's coming in Uncanny. Mm-hmm. There's something coming and we're not really talking about it, and every month little pieces come out and people aren't haven't pieced it together, which I like, because I feel like we're taking, people are like, oh, some of this feels like stuff I've seen before, and I'm like, yes, that's that was the whole point, that Disassembled is supposed to be very familiar, and then we're slowly stripping that away, and Age of
every
X-Men
X-Men story is the same. Yeah,
every X-Men story is the same until you get to the end, and so that's what we're working towards, is the end. And it's people are going to either really, really like it or really, really hate it, and I think that's exciting. I think it's fun to make people care about something in any way. I'm not trying to get people sad, but getting people intense and worked up is fun and passionate about stuff. So
awesome. And our last question for you today.
Okay.
Did you know Danny Moose stars in 2 books? Had you thought that through, Matthew? Did you put the thought into that one?
What's funny is that Vita, who writes Prisoner X, me and Vita worked in a comic shop together for years. Vita is one of my closest friends. Me and Vita are writing a book together. Mm-hmm. Zack and Lonnie, very good friends of mine for years. We talk all the time. Besides editorial, being very hands-on and knowing things, the assumption that we don't know what's going on in books is very, very fun to me. That people are like, why did this happen? You guys messed up. And Vita was like, I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. There are so many people assuming we made a mistake. And I was like, yeah. And there's another one of those coming.
That's beautiful.
There's another, maybe this isn't exactly what you think coming. So it might be Magneto related. So
okay then.
I think people are going to be surprised at Danny's existence and other people's existence. Yes, we knew that. Yes,
that's great to hear.
When we built, if you want the inside baseball on how comics are made, when we made X-Men Disassembled, at the end of it, we had to figure out who was at the fight and who wasn't. Because at first we were like, everyone at the fight disappears.
Zack and Lonnie had mentioned a spreadsheet of 63-ish people at one point.
There's 63 at the fight, I think. But we have charts and spreadsheets of where other people were. And there was like, oh, well, this person's in Domino, and this person's in the Shatterstar Mini, and this person's here. But there was intense amounts of chess to be like, Ed needs Cannonball for X-Force, and I need this person here. So there's a lot of like, the big one was getting multiple man off the table because he shows up at the fight. We needed him to be there, and then we needed him not to be there.
What did he just ran away?
He runs away, gets on a boat, and goes home.
That's good. Good for Jamie.
Yeah, which is was my solution, which everyone was like, huh, that worked, which I was very pleased with. But yeah, so there was a lot of like, it's the most math I've ever done in a comic, to be like, well, if we move this person here, and like, you know, Dazzler was going to be in Uncanny for a little bit, and I was like, well, I really want Dazzler to show up in the fight. Is there a way we can have Dazzler and then knock her out of the fight? And then we were like, no, it's stupid. She should just be in Age of X-Men. So there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Complicated stuff.
Well, that's great. Matthew, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great con. We're here at C2E2 right on the con floor with Todd Knock. Todd, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Zach. Thank you.
Now, you are probably in the X-Men sphere, most known for your run on Nightcrawler with Chris Claremont.
Yes.
Now, that's a book that, you know, from my experience, had a lot of influence, like an Alan Davis vibe or something like that. So how do you approach taking a character as classic as Nightcrawler with the guy who made X-Men, more or less?
I pretty much grew up on that.
Oh, yeah?
Chris Claremont, X-Men, and Excalibur issues, that's what I cut my teeth on as a kid. That was my introduction to the X-Men universe. So those were my favorite X-Men artists. Alan Davis is one of my big influences, Arthur Adams, Paul Smith, John Romita Jr. Those sorts of Nightcrawlers, all the way back to Cockrum, were the ones that inspired me. So a lot of my influence was from 80s X-Men comics, which I then crafted into my own personal style. So I'm honored that people would see that sort of flavor in my style, because definitely that they're tapping into what I was a big fan of.
Right. So I'm just going to assume by the fact that people can't see it, you're wearing an X-Men t-shirt.
Yes.
Your sketchbook is probably about 40% X-Men, something like that?
At least, yes, correct.
Something you enjoy drawing, I'm taking.
Absolutely, yes. I'm a huge X-Men fan, so when I'm not drawing, stuff for work, and I'm going to do some drawing for fun, it usually ends up being an X-Men character.
Now, speaking of drawing for fun, you have a pretty prevalent online following of doing live sketches and postcard sketches.
Yeah.
How did you get into developing that?
It's just kind of just happened organically, I guess. I started doing sketches on Post-it notes as like a warm-up.
Right.
Just need something quick to draw, just to kind of get warmed up for the day. So I grabbed a 3-inch by 3-inch stack of Post-its and just drew a little Spider-Man on there, posted it online, and people dug it. So I just kept doing it. And now I've done well over 300 Post-it note sketches, and many of them being my YouTube art videos.
Right.
So it just quickly became a thing I was known for, these Post-it note sketches that, again, go well with my either YouTube videos or live streams, whether it be YouTube or Instagram.
That's awesome. Now, you just got off of the Sleepwalker book for Infinity War.
Yes.
Wars, not warps.
Well, they did an Infinity Warps miniseries to go along with the whole Infinity Wars event.
Jordan is a friend of the show.
Yes.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Man, you're confusing us, JDW. You're killing us. But no, that's good. So, you just got off that. Now, what do you got on your plate right now?
Let's see. Right now, the next, aside from a handful of variant covers I'm doing for Marvel, I just did an issue of a new miniseries coming from the Cosmic Office, which is Jordan's office.
Oh, yeah.
Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History. It's a 6-issue miniseries written by Paul Scheer and Nick Giovanetti, who I worked with on Spider-Man Deadpool. And each issue is drawn by a different artist.
Okay.
Because Cosmic Ghost Rider is affecting the history of different Marvel characters each issue.
All right.
So issue 1's already out now, drawn by Gerardo Sandoval. It's the Fantastic Four issue. I'm drawing issue 2, which is out April 3rd. That is the Spider-Man issue.
All right.
Which then leads into issue 3, drawn by someone else. I'm not sure who's drawing it, but that's the X-Men issue. Which I wish I'd gotten to draw as well. I would have loved to have done that.
Well, your Spider-Man is not exactly Chump League. It's you've had a good amount of experience, mostly on the kind of those I'm trying to think of the right word for it, like the comicsology first, the digital first products. Is there a difference when you approach something like that versus a standard direct market comic?
Yeah. With this digital first, I did. With the comicsology first, when I did my Spidey Schools Out series,
Right.
that was drawn strictly like a comic book page. Made it really easy. The stuff I did prior, like the Amazing Spider-Man and Silk Spider-Fly Effects story, or the Deadpool 2 Soon miniseries, those were drawn as random panels,
The Infinite Comics.
The Infinite Comics,
yes.
exactly. So those would fit into a screen depending on the kind of the slight animatic that they would do.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that about covers it. Todd,
Awesome.
I hope you have an excellent con.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. We're here at C2E2 with writer Daniel Kibblesmith. Now, Daniel, you're best known for writing for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Correct.
You just finished Deadpool and Black Panther. You
That's
wrote
right.
a very enjoyable Lockjaw miniseries.
Thank
in
you
the
very
last year.
much.
And we were mentioning off air that you had written Valiant High, which was a high school AU for the Valiant universe characters that was kind of inspired by like X-Men Evolution.
Yeah, in some ways. They brought the pitch to me. They were working on a high school AU for all of their characters. And I'm a fan of just that very concept. I loved mostly the designs in the Avengers Academy game. I thought that was just so cute and clever. And X-Men Evolution was kind of my big one. That was the one that I saw every episode of.
Really?
I never saw Smallville. The sort of new CW shows are not high school reimaginings in the same way. I was aware of like a Gotham High pitch.
I know it existed where the Joker was definitely a high school bully,
Yes.
and that sure did not get greenlit. which-
Yeah, I think it seems a little. The stakes are unclear when you put the Joker in a high school scenario. But I loved the idea, and it also comes so much from. It's such a huge thing in fan arts.
Right, absolutely.
But of all of those, X-Men Evolution was the one that I connected with the most, and I used it as one of my touchstones in terms of like figuring out everybody's personality, and then assigning them in their new roles in high school archetypes. And that's one thing that X-Men Evolution does really well, is it figures out who is a student and who is a teacher. So like Hank McCoy, Aurora Monroe, Wolverine, obviously, those are grown-ups.
I've seen them try and do Teen Wolverine before.
Yeah.
Not the best decision Marvel Comics as an institution has made.
I don't know if I've read the one you're talking about. I saw the one where he's a little boy. I saw the one where he's a dandy little boy up in the Canadian wilderness.
That one's real. They did a manga back in like 2010. They did two of them. One was a Wolverine manga, and one was just an X-Men manga that Raina Telgemeier of all people wrote.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I will read that right now. That sounds great.
Not Hank McCoy. Colossus turns into a very large, like circular steam-powered Colossus man.
Really?
Yes, she does not promote that. She has other things.
Well, I regrets to inform her that I'm going to buy that at this con because it sounds amazing.
It sure is something.
Nothing against her other work, but I'm very excited to see her interpretation of the X-Men. I had no idea that was out there.
Yeah, it's a wild.
Was Wolverine called Wolverine?
I wish he was.
It seems like a missed opportunity.
Nah, he was just a teenage bad boy.
Sure.
And that doesn't always work out well.
No, he's an old man.
I feel like he was born
He's an old
40.
man, Logan.
Very much so.
I loved that very much. And then I liked the other big touchstone, even though it was I was doing the Valiant characters in a high school. My other big touchstone for that was Marvel's 1602.
Okay.
Which I think also does a tremendous job of just recasting everybody in a role that just fits.
Absolutely.
I think when you're doing one of those, it's all about finding out where somebody clicks. So I made Bloodshot the gym coach, and I gave him these little shorts. And we play a lot with his status, as like, is he really scary or is he kind of silly? So we try to do a lot of stuff like that.
Awesome. Now, what would you say is the biggest difference that you've experienced jumping between this solo writing comics versus kind of the writer's room experience working on something like your day job?
Well, I think the turnaround is the biggest, most obvious difference. The turnaround in the subject matter, because I'm writing,
topical satire,
almost exclusively about politics right now.
There's a little bit going on in politics.
Is there?
A tiny bit.
I'm kind of on autopilot, so... no, that's not true. Unfortunately, I'm very, very tuned in at all times. So it's different in as far as the subject matter and how quickly you have to turn something around. But I'd say, drilling down a little bit on what I mean by subject matter, is that in satire and comedy about news, you're really writing setup, joke, and there's a huge amount of storytelling in it. But it's the story of our culture right now, and the protagonist is the audience or the country or the course of history.
Okay.
Like, that's the point of view that you're following, is what is happening and why, and has it happened before, and is anything about it funny? And God willing, the answer is sometimes yes. So the writing the comic books, while it is solo, at work I'm in a writer's room and we write in pairs and groups a lot, the comics are still very collaborative. And especially, I've gotten to do a lot of comics that have a lot of comedy in them.
Right.
And the artists that I've been working with have such a good sense of storytelling, but also of like comedic timing and character acting and stuff like that. So it's actually more similar than I realized it would be, because it's when I'm writing a joke, the joke has to be landed by the artist. And in some cases, the colorist and the letterer as well. So it's very much a process of like writing a joke that you think someone will get, because then they have to tell it to somebody else when they're translating it into art.
I have never heard it described like that, but that is a fascinating perspective on how to write comedy in comics.
Yeah, you have to tell the joke to the artist first, and if they get it, they'll be able to tell it again. And at the end, you'll have the synthesis of both of you guys as storytellers, and in this case, as comedians.
That's great. That's great. Now, what do you got coming up in the near future? Anything for people to look out for?
Let's see. I have a story in Marvel Comics Presents #4 that I'm very excited about.
Which one? Are you writing the?
I'm writing Spider-Man. I'm writing the spectacular,
He's very
amazing.
popular.
I have heard I'm wearing Spider-Man socks. I won't bother showing you because we're on a podcast.
Right. No, I'm wearing Wolverine socks in case
very
the
cool.
podcast cares. Again, not a visual medium.
Not especially.
No.
But, so I'm doing a story about Spider-Man going to the movies. I don't know how much I can reveal, but I know the solicit says it's during the birth of the blockbuster era. So if you want to do some math and figure out where and when that story might take place and what movie Spider-Man might be seeing,
I've got some ideas.
it might be something that, a kid like Peter Parker would be excited about. So I'm doing that story. That's going to come out in May, I believe. And then I'm going to be doing some shorts that I don't know if I can announce yet, and then hopefully more with Marvel that I'll be able to announce in the coming months.
Awesome. And last question for you. How much approval from Marvel's legal team did you have to get to send Lockjaw and D-Man into the DC universe?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know?
I don't know what you're talking about. He goes to a universe. I don't believe we say what universe it is. People certainly couldn't see your air quotes on a podcast.
That's fair. That is fair.
So legally speaking, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you read Lockjaw out in trade paperback now, you will see in issue 4 he goes to some parallel universes. And one of them might strike readers as familiar.
It just feels very traditional comic books. Let's say that.
It's very comic
There's
books.
homages to comics. That's been great. Daniel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I want to paint everyone a sound picture. This is the elevator in our Airbnb. There's water coming from somewhere, and it smells like mildew. I'm terrified.
We are here on the C2E2 floor with Age of X-Men, Apocalypse and the Extracts writer, Tim Seeley.
There's a lot going on.
You got a lot of words in your title. I tell you, Tim, you are just hustling out here today. What are you drawing right now?
Doing a commission of Arsenal from DC.
Well, he's not X-Men, so we don't care on this
You
podcast.
don't care. Yeah, look at that guy.
Ah, screw him. But no, it's good. So, Tim, you just got off writing Shatterstar.
Yeah.
What made you pitch a book like that? Because that's out of left field as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know we've got friends who love Shatterstar, but he's not normally anyone's first pick for a book. So what appealed to you for that?
I found out the hard way about that. Yeah. No,
Jordan White emailed me and said, what would you do with Shatterstar? Because they were planning to do something to go with Deadpool 2.
Right.
And then I think they got a little surprised when they saw the movie and like, oh god.
Yeah, he didn't last long.
No. So, I mean, I think we kind of started off with, like maybe a misunderstanding or of the intent of the film and
Right.
the version. So, well, I liked the character as a kid. I remember very distinctly seeing him the first time when he stabs the dude by stabbing himself, and I thought, that was so visceral and
It's
and
very
he was
good.
Cool, so I came with an idea. One of my favorite villains when I was a kid was the Grandmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just been in Thor, so I was like, oh, maybe that'll help sell the book or whatever. So that was kind of my take on it, was that the ultimate, gladiator would be of interest to the ultimate, Grandmaster.
Sure.
Right? So I thought that would be a great conflict.
Awesome. And in the Age of X-Men world, you are dealing with the quote-unquote villain book?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to say any black and white, Apocalypse has tended to not be good. He's been a little genocidal in the past.
Yeah. Sure.
Now he's running a cult all about free love.
Yeah. Well, basically because their world is so restrictive that there's like no attention, no affection, or any kind of contact. Like, it's not exactly free love, but it's like they're the love fighters, I guess. And in this world, Apocalypse is the one who's preaching for human contact and that survival is sort of based around that idea.
Right. No, that's good. We've been excited for the Age of X-Men event. It's been something we have been trying to champion as much as possible because there's been a lot of great stuff. One of the interesting things I think about your book is the choice of characters that you got going on in there.
Yeah.
I know we've talked to Jordan, we've talked to Zack and Lonnie, we've talked to pretty much everyone involved, and they always speak of this mystical 63 character spreadsheet that got sent around and saying, here's who you can use.
Oh
so
man, I didn't get that.
You
I
didn't
heard
get the
about it.
spreadsheet?
No, I just got a thing that said, here's who we think would be the best in your series. Can you come up with a reason for them to be together? Like,
And you just rolled with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the job.
Well, that works.
But I honestly didn't. I mean, I knew who Dazzler, obviously. I knew all his characters, but I didn't. And Kitty but I didn't even know who Eyeboy was when I started the book. I was like, what the hell's an Eyeboy?
Right.
But,
he has several eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's just defining
But he
characteristic.
ended up kind of being my favorite, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We talked to Christina Strain back when she was doing the Generation X book.
Yeah.
And that was her exact reaction, too. She said, I had no idea what to do with him. I just knew he was some weirdo. And she fell in love with him by the end of it.
Yeah, he's great.
No, that's good. So what are you most excited for fans to see with Age of X-Men coming?
Oh, man. I mean, there's some crazy shit there.
Yeah, you threw Apocalypse in a Captain America outfit?
Well,
and Genesis in a Bucky outfit?
Well, no, not exactly. I don't want to ruin anything. But
Oh,
see.
and we don't want it ruined.
No, but it's weirder than that.
You know that's pretty weird to begin with, Timothy.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm really excited about that part of the story. The ending, I'm really, really happy.
Good.
And kind of like the arc of Apocalypse in the story, I think is not what anybody's expecting.
I haven't known what to expect yet.
Yeah,
so
I think it'll stay that way.
So beyond the rest of Age of X-Men, what else do you got going on here?
Oh man, the new book Dark Red that just came out this week. It's like a sellout, instant sellout.
Mm-hmm.
It's a horror book. It's kind of basically vampire in Trumpland. It's kind of the storyline. And I'm doing some editing for Heavy Metal Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the Crow versus Hack Slash, my comic.
Oh yeah.
Crow is taken on. And I'm doing Bloodshot for Valiant Comics.
That is excellent.
So yeah, I'm gonna be busy.
Well, we won't take you any more time than we already have, Tim. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Zack, and if it's echoey, it's because the walls in this Airbnb are very tall. It is the end of day 2 of the Chicago Comics and Entertainment Expo. My feet hurt so bad. And I did get a neon bar sign today. I feel the need to explain. I didn't mean to get this neon bar sign. Friday night, me and friend of the show, and possibly on this episode, Chris Edelman, got beer at a place. I was wearing my Bell's Brewery pullover. He said, "Do you want a Bell's beer sign?" And I said, "Yes." He then said, "Well, come back tomorrow." So I did. He gave me, this random gentleman at the McCormick Place liquor store, convenience store, I don't know what it's called, did give me a Brooklyn Brewery neon beer sign, which is great, except for I don't know who they are, and I don't have their merch. So I've got that to deal with now. Also, I got to meet Chris Claremont, and he's my dad now, and he's a very nice gentleman who did sign some Dark Phoenix Saga stuff for me, and I'm very curious how many issues of Uncanny 137 he had to sign that day, because I think there were 4 in the line with me, but also it's very good comics. I'm really tired, and my Uber Eats is not here yet. I'm getting ramen. We are in Chinatown, and the L is right out here. I'm starting to think C2E2 was a mistake. All right, so we are here in the C3Z1 loft, I think is what we have described it as. And I am with friend of the show and friend of the me, Charlie Davis. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm very tired, but extremely enthused and having a great time.
You're having a great time, Charlie?
I am. I'm having a really good time.
I hear you had a real fancy dinner.
Yeah, it was like a once in a lifetime experience. You know, one could. It had a lot of those today.
You have. So, I wanted to talk about a situation that you and I encountered at the Marvel C2E2 booth. We were looking at the prints of their young guns, who, let's be clear, I don't know their actual ages, but they aren't young guns to comics. They have been doing stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Regardless, we saw a very good Doctor Strange print by Ayako.
Yes.
And you were commenting on something. What was that?
So Javier Garron did the on the fly Secret Empire, Secret Warriors. X-Men. He did the interesting jumpsuit for Rick with the mustache and the his name on his lapel, and Shatterstar's kind of identical look. And,
right.
Yeah, so I really loved it. It was super gay, and it went away, which it's all right. But I just thought about how much better those things would have looked if he had been drawing as he is now.
And I was unaware of the fact that Javier Garron, or at least unaware is probably the wrong word. I'd forgotten that Javier Garron designed those, and I said, "Oh dang, man, I love those big gay mustaches." Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
And then...
Because I was talking loud, let's be clear.
Correct.
I wasn't quiet.
And then we were approached by a gentleman who gave me a fist bump.
Did he give you a fist bump?
He did.
I was confused about the whole situation, so I did miss the fist bump. Yeah. I heard him just say, "Oh yeah, me too."
Yeah.
And I thought we were going to talk about Shatterstar.
Yeah, and I was I was getting ready.
You got pumped.
I got pumped. And then he hands us some life-affirming texts about Hinduism.
I was told that this would help me with my self-actualization and balancing my chakras.
Yeah, and yoga, balancing your chakras with yoga, I believe was one of the titles of the books.
Look, I could use some yoga, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like I'm not going to get into yoga by reading about it.
No. I'm
going to get into yoga by taking a class.
This man was he was ready. He was evangelical about his beliefs. The people that are approach you on a college campus when you're walking to class and they have the little tracks and they're like, "Hey, would you like to join my religion?"
The people trying to get us to go to a K-pop show weren't anywhere near as
aggressive. Aggressive is the word I use.
I was going to say good salesman as him.
Yeah. he gave us some text and attempted to give us another text. And while this
he
was happening,
attempted to give us the equivalent of the Bible, which I would have felt uncomfortable throwing away.
Because we recycled them.
We recycled
So they're
the
gonna
other
turn-
text,
they're gonna-
not the Bible. We said, hey man, it's fine. You keep that one for you.
I think you'll have more fun with it than we will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we went and saw a creator, one Teeny Howard, correct?
Correct. There was a lot of energy happening in that situation.
It was a high energy artist alley.
Yeah.
The entire weekend has been a high energy artist alley. TM.
Yes, but this was special. I think I don't know how. I mentioned that Nick Robles, who did
Nicky Robes.
Yes.
He does those horny night crawlers, right?
Correct.
Man, everyone should do more horny night crawlers. I'm straight and I'm good for horny night crawlers.
For days.
Horny night crawlers for days.
Yeah, they did Euthanauts together, and so I mentioned that I got last year sometime it's a blur. I got a really awesome Richter and Shatterstar commission from Nick, and I mentioned it, and as soon as I mentioned that was me, Teeny's face lit up.
She got animated.
Yeah, and we had a discussion about Rick and Star, which pretty much was listen, and I'm pretty sure I told her that I'd kill a man for her to be able to write them.
You did say, and I quote, I would kill a man.
And then Teeny said, I would kill a man just because. And yeah, it was good.
She said she'd do a lot of things to, and I'm quoting her here, get my gay little hands on them.
Correct.
Correct. Teeny Howard is great, guys. Teeny Howard's a lot of fun, and I want her to write an X Factor book.
Yeah, no, it would be really great. And it seems like she's really trying to push in that direction, and she's got something, as of right now, being announced tomorrow.
She has something. We don't know if it's X related. It's been announced by the time this podcast goes up, so we might look like fools.
Something.
But that panel is behind a credit card. It's not like, hey, $5 gets you into that panel. I'd do that for you guys because I'm a good journalist. But no, you'd have to sign up for a Marvel credit card, and I ain't about that life.
I don't need that hard credit check.
I'm living that Dave Ramsey's life. I'm kidding. I don't live that Dave Ramsey's life. I'm bad with finances, as witnessed by the fact that I'm spending money on comic stuff.
You didn't spend as much money as I have.
I know. I'm being so frugal. I did get that really good Russell Donnerman print, though.
You did. You
know the one that got Russell Donnerman a job? Russell Donnerman, guy who might be on this podcast? Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, you guys do. I put up the list.
It was exciting. It was a very exciting day. My day started off exciting though.
So it's been a good day too for you?
It's been a very good day. I'm getting more art tomorrow, and yeah.
Oh, can we talk about one last thing?
Yes.
Can we talk about what Erica Henderson did?
Yes, we can. I love to give loose instructions to people who are good artists because that's how they work the most freely. And I have my sketchbook that's Shatterstar and Serial. That's all.
Okay, you say sketchbook, and it is a sketchbook, but I think that implies that it's a filled out sketchbook.
Correct.
The first sketch in this sketchbook is, I don't even want to say friend of the show, co-host of the show, kind of the heart of the show, Adam Reck.
Yes. Very good. Very, very good picture christening my sketchbook.
And then it's one of your friends.
Correct.
Whose name is?
Dell, my friend Dell.
Your friend Dell.
Yeah, she drew me a Shatterstar for my birthday.
It's good art.
It's very good.
And then who's next?
And then Erica Henderson.
Squirrel Girl artist.
Correct.
Assassination artist.
Yes. Drew me.
Jughead artist.
Winding up here.
Wait, shoot, what's the one? Subatomic Party Girls artist.
She drew me Shatterstar in a bathtub full of milk and cereal.
Guys, it's very good.
It's very good.
I know I've said that C2E2 might have been a mistake several times on this podcast, but maybe it's good.
It was good for... Not much can beat that. In fact, one Kyle Stark said he couldn't follow it up. So
Kyle Starks is a coward. He specifically said, I'm afraid to follow this very good Erica Henderson painting. Drawing. Sketch.
Illustration.
Illustration, that's the right word. And I would be afraid too. So, Charlie, I think that's all we have for you. Thank you so much for being here and being my roommate on this very exciting C2E2.
Yay!
Hello, and welcome back to the C3Z1 Loft here in beautiful Chinatown, Chicago. I'm your host, Zack. You know me. I run this joint. The podcast, not the loft, people. And with me is friend of the show, Chris Edelman. Chris.
Hi, Zach.
How you doing today, man? You had a good day?
Yeah, I had a pretty good day. Just got done eating many courses.
You also had fancy dinner tonight.
I also had fancy dinner.
I ate sashimi and rice.
That's true. We had.
To be clear, people, this was my choice.
That's true. He was invited.
I was invited. I did decline to have fancy dinner.
It was
fancy restaurant.
Fancy.
Yeah,
People were in dresses. Chris wore a button down, I believe.
I did. Which, I guess today was a big button down day. Wore a short sleeve button down.
See, I'm doing short sleeve button downs 2 days of this 3-day con.
That's true.
Today was the day I wasn't. So you outdressed me, which was a little upsetting.
I won't let it happen again.
Thank you, Chris. That's the important thing here.
All right. Well, today was kind of the long day. We got there pretty early.
We did after a very nice breakfast that you and your wife, Christy, made.
We did. We made everybody biscuits and gravy.
I said both of you. Christy did a lot of the work.
Yes, I didn't do anything.
You did make the coffee 1 cup at a time, but not with a Keurig, just with like a craft.
Our Airbnb has a very small coffee pot, so I had to make 3 pots of coffee just to fill all 4 of our cups.
We got there though.
Yeah, it happened. It was really fun hanging out in Artist Alley.
Yeah, that's just kind of where we've lived this con, isn't it?
It is. I tried to desperately find a copy of Die Number 1 by
Kieran Gillen and
Stephanie Hans, so I could get Stephanie Hans to sign it. I could not find it. I don't think I'm going to.
Did you find Robert Kirkman's Die 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 and just white out 2 of the dies?
I just put a big square root sign with a 3 under it. Just take the cube root of Die Die Die.
It's very good. That's a thinker. I didn't know where you were going with that, and I have a degree that involved math. But I got there. I got there after a hot second.
So trying to find that, we went back to Artist Alley. Stephanie Hans is theoretically working on a commission for me. We will see the fruits. We'll see the fruits of it later.
But you're also getting commissions from other people.
So I've decided to start a sketchbook that is just entitled X-Men BS, which I just Sharpied on the front of it.
And I'd like to thank you for respecting the podcast's not swearing rule, because you're not Tim Seeley, who's the only swear I have to bleep out in this entire thing.
Of course, Mr. Seeley.
Mr. Editor of Heavy Metal Magazine. Man, why didn't I ask Tim Seeley more questions about Judas Priest? Jeez, that's what I should have done. I wasted all that time talking about X-Men. Y'all, if this turns into a Judas Priest and Iron Maiden podcast, I'm not going to be that upset. So, Chris, what's your favorite Judas Priest album?
There's only one correct answer.
The one with war pigs on it?
That's very Black Sabbath.
Oh, that's right.
So,
jeez.
Charlie's yelling in the background that there's only one correct answer to that, and I've got feelings. So I do want to hear, Charlie, what did you say the only good Judas Priest album is? Or the only best?
Did you say Judas Priest or Iron Maiden?
Judas Priest.
Okay,
well,
I'm confused. I was thinking Iron Maiden.
Hold on. What do you...
Continue on.
What do you think the best Iron Maiden album is?
Number of the Beast?
Number of the Beast is not the best Iron Maiden album. It has some of the best singles on it. It's not the best Iron Maiden album.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyway, the answer is Seventh Son of the Seventh Son.
Run to the Hills is the best Iron Maiden song. I don't care.
Run to the Hills is problematic in a way that doesn't ruin it, but does have some stuff about it. There's some scalping talk in Run to the Hills.
Oh, no.
It's from the perspective that it's bad.
Okay. It is.
Iron Maiden's not pro scalping.
That's good.
Wildly off track.
We've gotten wildly off track. So you were talking about a panel that we attended yesterday, hosted by the AV Club's Oliver Sava.
Yep, who we apparently should have said hi to after the show.
We should have said hi to.
We got real rowdy and cheered everybody because it had a bunch of our faves. Babs Tarr was there, and Erica Henderson, and Annie Wu, Russell Dodderman.
Kenneth Rockeford.
Yeah. Where they talked about costume design, and from the perspective of somebody who, I guess, I feel like I just kind of see the finished product and go, sweet. I don't really think about the ins and outs. It was a really sort of how the sausage is made panel. It was really cool. We got some. Kenneth had some real opinions.
Yeah, can we talk about Ken just dropping some truth bombs about Sexy Lobo?
Yeah, no, he did. His...
You all remember Sexy Lobo, right? From Cullen Bunn's short-lived Lobo run, where Lobo was hot, actually.
Yeah. But he made a bunch of designs and said that DC used the worst one.
I think he said 4 different revisions, and he showed us the first revision, and it looked closer to actual Lobo, who I don't care for.
Fair.
But he did have a tuft of chest hair that was in the shape of a star, which is kind of very good superhero stuff.
It is pretty good.
Now, on that panel also was Erica Henderson,
True.
who I believe is related to the story that we started to tell and neglected to finish about your good X-Men sketchbook.
Right, so Erica Henderson probably currently has that as we speak because I just gave it to her overnight, and then she's going to hand it off to Kyle Stark. So I did not give her any specific design other than just X-Men BS. And so she just
Did you give Kyle any specifics besides that?
No, I didn't, but let me tell you who... He's like, well, what kind of character would you want? And I was like, oh, you can just start off with Cyclops. He's like, I'm not going to draw Cyclops. I hate Cyclops.
Kyle Starks has some opinions on Cyclops, which you may or may not hear on this podcast because I haven't recorded it yet. But Kyle wants to talk about hating Cyclops.
Just like, Nightcrawler, no. We just kept naming... X-Men after X-Men. Erica Henderson just yells over, Beak, do Beak. And he's like, I don't want to do Beak.
I don't want Beak to be the first thing that people see when they flip over the sketchbook.
He said, oh, I got this. Someone gave me this very same thing. I did a really great Rachel Summers. Not doing that for you, though.
Yeah, he showed us it was Excalibur going out close Rachel Summers.
Yep.
It was very good in that very Kyle Starks way.
But Erica's going to hand it off to him when she's done with it, because I guess they were drawing in the same hotel room.
Yeah, they're friends.
Yeah, they're pals.
Thanks to Assassin. They're co-workers?
Yeah, on the set.
Co-partners?
They co-creators even.
Co-creators even of Assassination.
Which I also bought and read today, and it's really
I haven't read it yet. I should have read it while I was waiting for you guys to come back from your fancy dinner.
Yep. I wanted to read it and talk to them about it tomorrow, because it's very good.
Better than Sex Castle?
I don't know. It's hard to tell when there's only one issue, but it's got some really great stuff, and Erica does some really fun stuff with sound effects.
Erica had that X-Men print, but she's out of it, and it was the X-Men in casual clothes. It was mostly the X-Women, but then also Gambit.
Yep. Also, after that costume panel when Erica said that she likes to draw people in different clothes all the time, there's a page on the beginning of Assassination that is kind of like a dramatis persona and introduces you to all the characters, and then they're all dressed in different clothes throughout the comics, other than that dramatis persona.
That's
so I had
very good, Erica.
I had to keep flipping back because I was like, wait, is it this guy? They're wearing different clothes? I guess I gotta really think about it. And then I don't want to spoil anything, but by the end of the comic, a little bit of that becomes superfluous. But
yeah, I've heard that when you have the top 20 assassins, it's hard to have 21 plus characters in a book.
It is. But it was a really good read, and the two of them were just a lot of fun to talk to. They're sitting next to each other.
Yeah, and right next to them is Chris Schweitzer, who I bought some Santas from.
As one
Santas that have text written by Benito Cereno.
Oh, hey.
I didn't know that until I forgot that I bought it, and I pulled it out today. I was like,
Benito Cereno writing Santas is pretty on brand for him.
It's pretty on brand. So let me ask this, Chris. Would you do C2E2 again?
Yeah, especially if I get to hang out with you.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's a lot of a day, isn't it?
It is a long day.
It's a long day, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on this podcast, and I think we're gonna hit the square button that says stop now. So we are here, start of day 3 of C2E2. I am sitting in the Hyatt bar with Declan Shelby. Declan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. It's day 3 of my voice.
It's rough for everyone.
Yeah.
It's rough for everyone.
Well, I just don't stop talking, so I don't do myself any favors.
So far, con been going well for you?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's been really good, actually. I've been to C2 a few times, and this one feels not necessarily busier, but like just steadier.
Take this away.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But steady and good, and everyone's super nice and like really. I don't know. It's been a really good vibe this year, I think.
That's good. Now, you've historically said that you're a big fan of Wolverine, and you got to write about a year and a half, 2 years ago, the Old Man Logan Deadpool miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a fun little series about not necessarily the Wolverine, but a Wolverine.
Yeah.
What was it like approaching that kind of book, especially when you have to have that cognitive dissonance of, this is 90% the character that I know and love and grew up with, but I've got to write him with these interesting quirks that he has now.
Yeah, I mean, there was a challenge. I mean, it was definitely something the editors were said to me going in. It's like, it's not Wolverine, so keep in mind that it's not exactly the same character. And,
right.
And I'd been reading Old Man Logan anyway, because I'm a fan of Ed Brisson.
Yep.
So I was trying to figure out what is it that differentiates him from Logan. And for me, it was, a guilt and a ruthlessness.
Right.
Like, he's always has many dead girlfriends. He's got a lot of guilt.
He's had a rough time.
But, he has way more guilt. Old Man Logan has so much more guilt issues and, doesn't mess around. It's like, oh, I'll kill him, But saying that, because of the nature of the story being a little more humorous as well, I had drawn Good, the Bad, and the Ugly that Jerry wrote.
The Deadpool arc.
Yeah, and from that story, I really felt like what I liked about Deadpool was that he's basically just a little boy, and he wants everyone's approval. He wants Cap's approval. He wants Wolverine's approval, and Wolverine just won't give it to him. And then he dies, and he never gets it from him. So for me, I wanted to be that Wade's annoyed and sour that he can't get it, and that he plays up like a child would, and Old Man Logan, because it was interesting, they hadn't actually met in Marvel Universe at all, but those books are also a little they're not necessarily tied to continuity, so it was just the relationship between both would be similar.
Right.
If it was regular Logan, but I think it was more extreme because it was Old Man Logan. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm rambling.
No, you're perfectly fine. Now, as we're recording this week, some news came out about a story that never really developed. This X-Men Green pitch that you had featuring both Banshees.
Yeah, I was. I don't know. As a kid, I loved Banshee. And he's been dead for ages. Or, well, at the time I was pitching this stuff, he'd been dead for ages.
Right.
And nobody was using him. I'm like, if you look at my stuff over the years, nearly every second year I've done a Banshee redesign, hoping that somebody would pick it up. It was just a pitch because I had done some writing, so I wanted. It was an idea I had. I wanted to flesh it out and just hand it in the sea, and it pretty much got shut down. But I kind of had another go at it when all the kind of coloured books were happening.
Right.
So it was really, the idea was Banshee, but it was more a book about Sean and Teresa, like a family drama, not a kind of a solo superhero adventure book.
Right.
And I wanted to build it up with a team as well, because I haven't written a team book. It was just, what do I want to write next? What do I want to, as a writer, what would I like to kind of challenge myself with more? And I wanted to do a longer format, like not soap opera, but character drama, because with Deadpool vs. Old Man Logan, there's very little character development there.
I mean, it's an action book.
Yeah, it's an action book, exactly. So I was like, it would be cool if I had a book I could do that. I felt I had a kind of an original spin on it. Sent it in, and to be fair to Marvel, they really did think it through and talked about it. And well, I mean, I think they laughed originally. I think that was the first reaction. No, I mean, it didn't happen for multiple reasons, but totally fair, reasonable reasons, and even partly because myself, I just couldn't. What would have needed to make the book happen, I couldn't have done.
Sure.
So like, I couldn't ask for any fairer treatment, you know.
Well, that's good. Now, you had an interesting cast of characters with that. You had, obviously, Sean and Teresa, but then you also did these designs for Chamber, Artie and Leech, and Marrow. Were those characters that you had a particular affinity for before this pitch, or did they just kind of work in the story you were telling?
Well, Chamber, because he's British, I felt would work.
Would you finally give him British slang that actually is real British slang, or?
Well, I don't like Simon Spurrier. Like, give him proper.
That's fair, but I only got to write it for like 4 pages.
That's true, yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes a lighter touch is better with that. Like, I did a graphic novel that I wrote in Irish. Savage
Town. Excuse me.
No worries. But like, I went very heavy on the accent with that. I would never do that on a Marvel book.
I tried to read that while I was half drunk on a plane, and
being the operative word.
I liked it, but I was like, I know I speak this language, but in a very real way, I don't speak this language.
Yeah, that was always going to be a concern. But in most cases, that people seem to.
It was a real enjoyable read once I wrapped my mind around it.
That's why it works better as a graphic novel. Because if you read it in issues, it would be too difficult to get into each time. But as a graphic novel, it works. But yeah, for the same reason, you know, I wouldn't be as heavy with it. But I love how Garth does accents. You know, it's a subtle touch, but you can tell it's somebody's accent.
Right.
When, you know, the answer is I definitely would have tried working with the accents there. But also, Banshee wasn't going to be like to you know.
He wasn't going to have a very Claremont accent.
No, certainly not. But actually, what would have been interesting is in Ireland we have a word called feck, which is basically but it's not a swear word. It's not considered rude to say the word feck, like it would be to say the F word. So I remember thinking, I wonder if I could do that in a Marvel book. I don't think they would have let me, but I would have definitely tried, you know. If that's the case, he would be saying feck a lot. But
that tracks for a curmudgeonly old man like
exactly.
Banshee.
But like, I just thought that the family dynamics between so Teresa was kidnapped as a kid by Black Tom.
Right.
So he didn't really get to raise her. So they connected, and then he died, and then she had a really hard time on X Factor.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it was like, she's wounded, he's wounded, she's trying to forge a relationship with him, and he won't let her.
Right.
And that to me is interesting. And I had plans for Black Tom too, which I thought would be pretty cool. But that was the thing that I'd need room to see that kind of story. But it essentially was a family drama. But also I wanted to get in sometimes all the mutants are super beautiful people who are cursed with amazing powers. Whereas what I like about Chamber is there's no hiding it.
Right.
And I liked Marrow too, because I was reading X-Men as a kid. Is when she appeared.
Right.
I just think the visual. She's just such a cool visual character. She's such a cool visual character that she would just be so cool to draw.
Oh yeah.
And also, she'd basically be you always need a jerk on a team. You know, it's when you're reading a book, you're like, oh, why do they have to be such a jerk? Why can't everybody get along? You're like, that's why it's entertaining to read.
You need that drama to be built between the different characters.
You need
that tension.
Exactly. So there's going to be problems between Teresa and Sean, and there would be problem with Marrow and also there hasn't been an Excalibur book. For me, this would be kind of like the Excalibur book that isn't there right now.
Do you know how many people that we've talked to have said, "Oh, what I really want to do is Excalibur."
Oh, really? Yeah.
I can't tell you the last creator who didn't say, we want to do Excalibur. It's wildly popular between the creative side. I know Jordan loves it. Everyone that we've interviewed pretty much has pitched an Excalibur story one way or another. And it's wild to me that has yet to really develop. Maybe it's the name recognition, I don't know. But
I don't know, because I know that when did they last try it? It's a few years ago, I guess.
They did. Mid-2000s, Claremont did New Excalibur with, actually Tim Seeley did some of the issues and a few other people.
Okay, just remember that. But my plan was, again, plan as in, I had thoughts I had.
Sure.
Things in my brain I had thought, was established that like that Captain Britain would come over and like him and Banshee would not get along. A pub fight I think was in my head. So I liked there was enough dynamics on the British side of things, and especially with things like Brexit happening. Ireland's in a really weird place where on one side of us is all the stuff with Brexit, which is craziness, and on the other side is all this like craziness with Trump and whatnot. Like Ireland seems like this weird like island of calm in between them both, so there's so many characters on that side that you can use. I think sometimes, I guess people think that nobody cares about British characters or stories outside of America, but I think audiences have kind of grown and developed a little bit. Right. And they want to see something different. But it was a hard sell. I get it. Yeah, it's a shame. It would have been really, really, really fun to do. I think there's a lot of cool stuff we could have done.
I would have loved to see that.
I would also say the other thing as well is I wanted to just murder people, because that's X-Men comics do feel a little safe, even though they're so heavily populated. I wanted to like create characters that would just not randomly but like ruthlessly die, because I wanted there to feel like there's a cost
with stakes to suffer.
Because like there's a good history in Ireland of like troubled areas where you have community leaders coming in and setting up boxing clubs for youth that are maybe like uneducated and stuff like that. And that was kind of my thinking. It's not that Banshee would be Professor Xavier. Banshee would be like dealing with at-risk youth, effectively, and it wouldn't go well in a lot of cases. I was even thinking maybe the Maddie from Dead Man Logan. Book that I did. Because I'd like to kind of do something with her again sometime. She could like there was just possibilities. That idea of a playhouse to do that kind of stuff would be great. But
that's interesting. Now you just came off Return of Wolverine, so what do you got on your plate right now?
I am working on a Marvel miniseries that hasn't been announced, so I can't say. But
sure.
I've been working on it on and off while doing some other Marvel stuff for the last year. But I'm working with a writer. I'm getting to do title design, covers.
Awesome.
So it's kind of like perfect little artist project, it's really coming together now. Really excited by it, but it's the first time I've ever done something for Marvel where I absolutely have no idea. I don't know when it's coming out. I think they're waiting to know when the right time to put this thing out is, and I appreciate that. So it's great to just concentrate on trying to do really nice work, and then it'll come out at the right time. It's really cool, actually.
Well, that's awesome. Well, definitely thank you so much for your time here.
Oh, no worries, man.
And hope you have a great con.
Cheers.
We are here on day 3 of C2E2 2019, and I am at the table of Kyle Starks, best known for things like Sex Castle, Mars Attacks, Rock Candy Mountain, and Rick and Morty. You're probably best known for Rick and Morty.
Probably, yes. That's probably
Rick and Morty's very popular with people.
It's pretty popular.
Now, you have just finished a commission for one of my buddies, Chris Edelman, who's been walking around here today, of Cyclops.
I sure did.
Now, while we were doing this, you had mentioned that you dislike Cyclops for whatever reason.
Oh, I have reasons.
I would love you to expand on that.
All right, here's my. There's so many. I don't know how much time we have. One, he was like a real. Can I pull this off or not? Sort of crap leader for early X-Men. That's number one. Number two, he tried to be a big boy and got his butt whipped by Storm when she didn't have any powers, and then cried so bad about it. He was suspect to be a victim to a fake wife. Yep, that's garbage. Yep, that's a garbage guy. But I think what you want me to say is my theory about why Scott Summers is so popular with very powerful psychics. I mean, like I thought, like, he's Professor Xavier's favorite boy, right?
He is Professor Xavier's favorite boy. Daddy Charles is, he respects him.
Loves Slim, which is a real D-bag, Ivy League, like, mommy drives me to school sort of thing, right?
Well, his mommy blew up in an airplane, but that's fine.
All right, well, fair enough. That's right. Was mommy there too? Daddy wasn't there. Mommy was there. That's right.
Daddy became a space pirate.
Right. So the reason why I think Emma and Jean, the most powerful mind readers on the planet, are so happily romantic with Scott is because he's 100% dead behind the eyes.
Yes.
There's no mental noise to bother. It's finally a quiet time for these awesome mind readers because he's the worst. I think maybe they fixed him, though, finally. He's not quite the weak.
Nah, he gets mad. He started a revolution
he
once.
Got mad. And I'm glad someone
Punch Captain America.
the worst for so many years, and everyone seemed like okay with it. I think if I was Nightcrawler and Wolverine, the first time Cyclops comes back and he's like, all right guys, here I am, they had to be like, ugh, this guy, this management's crap.
Well, that's very good. Now, Kyle, what are you working on right now? What do you got? What do you got that you are hawking at this table?
Yeah, we the first issue of Assassination from Skybound that I wrote, and Eric Anderson of Squirrel Girl, brilliant cartoonist Eric Anderson drew, and we're pimping that real hard right now because we're real proud of it. It's real good. It's about the world's former greatest hitman became a crime boss. Someone tried to kill him. His bodyguard sucks, so he hires the 20 best killers in the world to be his bodyguards.
It's a book I read this morning, and I was cackling in the middle of our loft.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
It was a real fun time. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great show.
Hey,
and
thanks for having me on. Cyclops really sucks.
He's strongly
the worst,
disagree.
and I hate him.
I disagree so hard,
All
but
right,
I
he's
appreciate
terrible.
it.
He's terrible, though.
We are here on the floor of C2E2 Artist Alley, day 3, a marathon session, and I am sitting right next to Russell Dodderman. Russell, how are you doing this weekend?
I'm doing well. It's a little overwhelming with all the people, but I've really enjoyed it so far.
That is great. Now, I'm noticing what I had purchased from this table yesterday, your beautiful X-Men print, the 90s nostalgia that's been kind of everywhere around the internet, is gone. Has that been a big seller for you?
Yeah, that sold out yesterday. I actually did that print years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and that's what some editors at DC and at Marvel saw, and that's what got me hired at the big 2. I'd only been drawing, independent books until then.
Right.
That got me noticed.
And your first Marvel work, at least that I'm aware of, was a 6-issue run on Cyclops with Greg Rucka?
It was a 3-issue run.
Did you only do the first 3?
Yeah, they pulled me off and put me on Thor right after the 3rd issue.
Yeah, okay, the thing is, it was very good.
Oh.
I'm a big Cyclops fan, and I loved that space camping adventure and all that stuff. It was great, and I am not shocked that they pulled you onto something real quick from there.
Well, thank you. That's
so,
very nice.
Obviously, it's you being an X-Men fan. What was it like with your first big book to be X-Men? There with the Starjammers and all this.
That was incredible. I mean, that was a perfect place to start. And my first, the first page of the first issue was the Cyclops, and it was with all these flashbacks and things
reflecting
that
the jumping out of the plane on his visor and things like that.
Yeah, it was written as separate panels, and I thought, what's something I could do that's really visually striking, and I decided to put it in the shadows of the visor. And
that's a pretty damn big first impression right there.
Well, I wanted something big to start off with, and it was such a treat to draw the original X-Men in that, and it was really cool.
That's absolutely. Now, I was reading yesterday. You're an Ohio boy. You're from Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland.
All right, you still around that area? Or?
No, I moved out to Los Angeles.
Lucky you.
A long time ago, but
I'm still stuck in Dayton area.
Okay, well I have to shout out Mr. Cards and Comics in Cleveland. That was my store. I went every Wednesday and picked up all my X-Men books, and yeah, that was my shop.
That's awesome. Now you've gotten to touch on a few X-Men things in your run on the Mighty Thor, with especially the Asgard Shi'ar War.
Right.
With Jason Aaron, you're a writer. I know that Quentin is his baby. Was it intimidating getting into that, doing a big Phoenix story with all this crazy cosmic art on top of what you had already been building with Thor?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, that was pretty far along in our run. So we'd done a lot of Asgard stuff, we'd done a lot of Earth stuff, we'd done a lot of different genres, and by the time we got to that, it was really fun to explore and butt up against all the cosmic stuff and see how Thor would mesh. And getting to draw the Phoenix, and I got to design some Shi'ar gods.
Oh yeah, those were great.
Thank you. That was really fun for me to do, and Quentin Quire was a huge treat for me to draw. I'm a big new X-Men fan. So that was a real treat.
Put the little Swagnito pin on him?
Yeah, exactly. And I gave him the Phoenix t-shirt eventually, and yeah, it was really fun.
That's great. Now, the big thing that's going on at Marvel right now, you are dead in the center of War of the Realms.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about fans seeing with this?
It's really kind of similar to that Asgard Shi'ar stuff. It's, taking all this Thor stuff that I've been drawing for the past, however many years, and incorporating it into the larger Marvel universe. So you have characters like Daredevil and Punisher and Black Panther and Captain Marvel who haven't really interacted, at least in our Thor run, all coming up against Frost Giants, and elves and fire demons and all these sorts of crazy fantasy Asgard things, and the real mashup of those is the most exciting bit.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And last question for you, Russell. Who are we going to have to kill to get you onto an X-Men book finally? Because I know fans have been asking for a while, and while your Thor stuff has been amazing, I know that's something people are going to want at some point.
Well, I mean, it's something I want too, so I mean, hopefully it'll happen. I'll be with Marvel for a while, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Russell. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Yeah,
have a great
time.
time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. So I am in my vehicle, about to leave the underpass of the L in Chicago and get back from C2E2. It was a wild weekend. A lot of fun, very long, but it came with some real good friends and getting to hang out and see some people. So it was a blast. I don't actually think C2E2 was a mistake, but I also have to drive for 5 hours now and wake up before work in the morning. So I got that going for me, which is nice. Now I've got a sore throat and a long drive ahead of me, and I haven't eaten since I had 2 silver dollar pancakes. Maybe 3. I do regret that we didn't get Christy to be able to talk on here. She was great all weekend. She did an amazing Spider-Woman cosplay, and we kept planning on adding her in, but it was late and everyone was tired, and then life got in the way. So do want to do a special shout out to Christy, Chris, and Charlie for being on this show. You can find them on the internet at their Twitters. I'll put links to everyone on this episode, and it's going to be wild. Hey guys, thanks for coming to C2E2 with me. I guess it was a couple weeks ago, but you're good now. Bye guys. Wait, I'll say I hope you survive the experience after Adam and I talk. So this is Zack. I'm back from C2E2, and I am sitting in the studio with my friend Adam. Adam, you weren't at C2E2. What's up?
Hey, sorry. Yeah, I live 10 hours away, so I did not get to join you guys, and maybe next time.
I lived 5 hours away, and I drove there, man. It was long.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe next time. It looked like you guys had a really fun time, so I'm sorry I missed it.
We did. Luckily, I chronicled all this in this diary.
Yes. So what you wanted to talk to me about something specific, right, Zach?
Yeah, so I was at the Marvel Next Big Thing panel.
Woohoo!
Where they announced that Jonathan Hickman will be writing 2 6-issue miniseries for the X-Men called House of X and Powers of 10.
Yes.
Bill the Lobster is involved from Fallen Angels.
Which is really the takeaway for me, folks. Let me be a little bit bitter that I did it in Ambition Jubes first, but at the same time, I love that Bill is getting a chance to shine.
It's beautiful. Bill the Lobster, who has had 2 different titles that he's ever appeared in, and one was as a cameo.
Yeah, and here he is right up front on this beautiful Mark Brooks poster that you got a print, right? Did I hear that correctly?
I had a print. Had a print. And actually, I do want to address this. I had a print. I no longer have a print because cons get busy, and the print was sticking out of my bag. And someone else has that print. However, I did want to give special thanks. I reached out to Ryan Penagos at H&M at Marvel, just because he handles all the marketing stuff. And I said, hey man, no, this is a super busy weekend for you. This is what happened to me. I get it if you guys can't do anything because these were limited run. They only printed 200 of them. All this stuff. And he shot at it, and his answer was yes. Let me reach out to me in the morning. We'll get it sorted out. I did reach out to him again, and unfortunately, just his schedule for the day and my schedule didn't work out. I had to leave before I could get something, but I do want to definitely say Marvel, as a company, went out of their way for what to them is a legitimate stranger who could have been lying about everything.
Right.
But that was
really
a
great.
It was great. So I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
But then also, the panel. So Jonathan Hickman's got 2 6-issue miniseries starting in July. House of X will be drawn by Pepe Larraz, who I talked to at the con, and he is absolutely thrilled about doing this book. He got an X tattoo, him and all of his brothers did, when he got his first X-Men gig. So like they're dyed in the wool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for what is it? Powers of 10, which is a dumb title, Jonathan. For Powers of 10, we've got favorite of the show, RB Silva, is going to be doing some of the work there. So that's going to be exciting. I know Jonathan Hickman at the panel did say that this is something that pretty much only Jonathan Hickman can say. He didn't care about any Marvel things except for X-Men when he was growing up. He didn't care about any Marvel things when he was writing them except for X-Men. So now he's writing X-Men and he's like, guys, this is me caring about something.
Which is wild given like the huge runs that he's done at Marvel in the past, to say that like, I just did those for like paychecks, or, I just did it for whatever, which I don't really believe that. You could tell that there was a lot of love, especially in his Fantastic Four run. But all right, well, what was the tone in the room in this with this announcement? I'm curious to know what
people
that
were
was
excited.
like. Yeah.
I forget. I was talking to someone. I think it was Declan. When Declan Shalvey, when we were having brunch, which was a wild thing that I did not plan on happening this weekend. But I mentioned to him, I said, look, I didn't know how to feel about this, but shoot, man, I did not realize how many people were this on the Hickman train. Like, I don't know how many writers in comics, period, would get that kind of reception. It was absolutely mind-blowing to me. Like, it was a John Byrne going over to DC in the 80s kind of feel. Like, it felt like that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think, the most recent analog might be Bendis going to DC, to write Superman.
But without the fact that half of Marvel fans kind of hated Bendis by the end.
Right. I think a lot of people have just been wondering when Hickman is going to get back to doing something big in Marvel. And, especially after Secret Wars, I think a lot of people assumed that Hickman was going to jump to X-Men. And the fact that he didn't has kind of set up this expectation that it would happen eventually. And here it is. So, all right, we know what the room was like, but what was your first reaction to hearing this news leading up to it? I think a lot of people had, we had talked online about how we pretty much knew this announcement was coming, but once it was made official, what were your thoughts?
So first reaction, I love the art team. These were not arranged marriages. These were handpicked artists for this book. Hickman has a lot of control on that, and I love that team. Pepe Larraz he was easily the standout of Extermination. He's just been fantastic for a while now, and RB Silva was really pushing himself in X-Men or Uncanny X-Men, and I hope that he pushes himself even further on this Powers of 10 book. So I'm excited from that standpoint.
I want to second that. Like Pepe Larraz, he kind of came into my radar when he did his Uncanny Avengers run, but just keeps getting better. And RB Silva, who, I think we've talked a little bit about how we like the evolution of his art, is hitting a stride. So I'm excited to see both of them working on these books.
The downside for me is not necessarily Hickman, because I think Hickman as a creator has written some stuff I really like. He's written some very good stuff. He'll probably be great. I like the current team that we have now, though. And that's a little disheartening to me.
Yeah, I think that is the core here. I think it's important that I think we're both on the same page here. I would love to read a John Hickman X-Men story, especially if it's paired with outstanding artwork. I think that what we had talked about earlier this afternoon is the idea that what are we willing to exchange for a John Hickman story, because we've both been very on the record on this show of being a huge fan of the diverse talent that's working on the books right now. And I'm just concerned as to, because we don't really have the full picture of the line yet, where that talent is going to go.
Right. And, I've heard rumors and plenty of things like that I don't want to throw on record just because, people talk. There's rumors of everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
But what I can say is I think what's encouraging and what a good standpoint to take of this is something you and I discussed earlier today, is that we're not really giving up anything for this run, in so much as we know that this run was planned about a year ago. Like that's when Jonathan Hickman started working on it. Which, by the way, guys, tells us that it's not just 12 total issues. You don't put a whole year's work in that for just 12 total issues. Just saying. But we know that started then, and we know about the lead time, just talking with people, that it took to get some of the books that kind of came out of the, let's call it the start of the Jordan White era of editing in X-Men. So I choose, and I think a more charitable reading of the situation is to say, hey, they knew they had about this much runway on the color era book, the blues, the gold, extermination, hitting all that stuff. They knew where that was going to end. They also knew when the Hickman stuff roughly was going to begin. And they had 9 months and said, hey guys, we've got 9 months to fill. It's not going to be long-term stuff, but let's see what we can do. Let's do something big. Let's do something new. Let's do something we haven't seen before. Let's be risky here. We've got a chance to play with some, like we've talked about it for Age of X-Man. The creators involved are good, but they aren't established in comics for the most part. You got Ed Brisson, who's the most established guy in Age of X-Man, and then I guess Tim Seeley's been around for a good amount of time at this point as both a writer and an artist, but they aren't big names by any means. Well, like Leah and Vita and Sean and Zack and Lonnie are great. I love them. I love their work. In fact, I just read an incredible OGN by Zach Thompson called Replacer, which
I can't wait to read that.
Go put it on your freaking pull list right now. That book wrecked me. I'm still like a little shook from it.
Yeah,
so go put that on your pull list right now, please. Yeah, it's good.
Can I jump in on this, because you're describing a scenario that is part of my reservations here about this whole situation, which is that I take at least a little bit of umbrage in the idea that this in-between era of Disassembled and Age of X-Men was like almost a stopgag maneuver to like kill time before the big name came in for the sales thing. And I take issue with it for a couple of reasons. The first is that we have a creative team here that is doing things that are incredibly original. And I would hate for that to have just been filler. I hope that people go back to this era and look and see that the creative teams and what it is that they're putting down in these books is something that is really, really new and fresh. And I was hoping.
I would also say to that point, Adam, for our listeners who have heard the other interviews we've done on this show right now, I don't think that these stories that we're being told right now don't count. I think that they are, call it even more setup, but they are knowing that, okay, we have this thing coming and we need to put things in place for that.
Sure.
And we get to that point.
I think the other thing that is an issue for me, aside from the switch in creative teams, despite that we're switching, from, a certain level of, for a certain level of prestige, shall we say, is that Age of X-Man, I think you've noted this on your website, did not get the promotional push that I am sure we are seeing starting as of last Thursday for this Hickman launch.
Oh, absolutely not.
And we've seen the sales on Age of X-Men. They have not been what I think are appropriate for the quality of the event. And it does bum me out super hard that, we have to rely on a certain level of prestige to like, there's a Paste magazine article that's been floating around saying like Hickman is going to save the X-Men from itself. And I hated that headline. I know it's supposed to be clickbait, but at the same time, the X-Men doesn't need to be saved. Like, it's already been saved to a certain extent. So all I'm hoping for is that we get both. Like, I'm hoping that we can get the big prestige Hickman on book with the prestige artists. But at the same time that, the line continues to work with this up and coming group who is doing amazing new fresh stuff that frankly I feel like we're a little spoiled right now, and I want to keep that.
Oh yeah, we're absolutely. I'd say if this was a quote unquote gap filler few months, we've been spoiled pretty good, and this pretty much turned out to be the best gap filler they could expect, because I've been absolutely blown away with a lot of the creative teams. This we wouldn't still be excited about Age of X-Men after seeing all this stuff if we didn't love it. I read an issue today that was one, like, Extremist number 2 is up there with like my favorite comics of the year. It's an amazing story, and Leah did script of her career already. Like, it's fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about it. So I don't want to lose all of that. However, in a vacuum, without all this other stuff, I'm pretty excited about seeing what Hickman does with the X-Men, just to see it, because we're going to be talking about it for a while.
Yeah, and I do agree that I would be absolutely shocked if we were really just talking about 12 issues, unless these things are like, supersized in nature. But, I have a feeling when you put Hickman on a book, you're expecting a couple years out of him. I think the FF run lasted for at least 3 years. I think New Avengers through Secret Wars was another 3. You don't put this guy on a book with his like extensive flowcharts without expecting a long run.
He has 37.
Yeah. I just, part of me is still going to be wondering how many times the X-Men line needs to be quote unquote hard rebooted, within 3 years to, continue to gain traction in the market. Like it's been at least 3. I think this would be 4 since Secret Wars.
See, my son was born when Secret Wars 8 came out.
Yeah.
I remember that well because I read the issue in the hospital room.
Yeah.
Secret Wars 9, excuse me. So if you're counting the extermination stuff that was supposed to come out of Secret Wars and then didn't because it was wildly off schedule, that's 1. The Colors Era 2, and then the Uncanny relaunch 3. So yeah, this would be the 4th since then.
Yeah, I just but I do think that it's worth going back to our first point, which is I'm excited to read it. I just think it's a little bittersweet given the timing, and that's probably my takeaway. I absolutely
agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you for jumping in with some opinions on here. We're going to have a wild rest of the year.
Yes.
That wraps up this oversized C2E2 edition of Battle of the Atom. You can find me on Twitter at Xavier Files. You can find Adam at Arthur Stacy. You can find Chris at Strictly Worse. And you can find Charlie at Genetic Ghost. You can also find Christy at Christy Edelman. Christy, I'm really sorry we didn't get you actually recording, except for the one time when you said that Chris made coffee. That was fun. And everyone else, all the other amazing creators, thank you guys so much. Thank you to the C2E2 team for letting me come down there and doing some fun stuff. Next week, we are talking about some miniseries from the 90s. So that'll be fun. But until then, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.